Hello everyone, welcome back to the lecture series. Today's topic of discussion is historical materialism. Before entering to the topic of historical materialism, I just want to start with a quotation given by the Marx. So just glance at the quotation that's appearing on the screen. It states, it's not the consciousness of the men that determines the social existence, but on the contrary, their social existence determine the consciousness. So, if we talk briefly on that, so it states nothing but if you think something, see, conscious is nothing but your uh, perspective, something or something. So Marx states that it doesn't determine the social existence or the your surroundings doesn't influenced by your consciousness, but your consciousness is ultimately influenced by the social existence or the surroundings of you. So, with that quotation on the mind, let's move to the concept of its historical materialism. But just a tip of just as a tip, just learn it. See, this lecture series is not aimed for any examination or certification, but rather it's on your self-interest that you came forward to listen that. So just put up your headphones right tight and just lean back and just enjoy it as a story. I I observed someone who listened like a story will get a good grasper of this topic rather than one who typically act as a typical fifth or sixth standard student. So I just advise you to just lean back and listen like a story, such that you can make most out of it. So, if we enter into the topic of historical materialism, I just want to start the discussion with the two words of the topic, that is historical and materialism. So, what's mean by historical? So, what's mean by historical? Uh, Historical has, see, if you observe the word historical, it's you can trace something like it's related to history. So, history is nothing but we can relate history with social evolution. Social evolution is nothing but a change in society from the time being. So if you consider society of first early man age and society of now, there is a change, right? There is many changes, but Marx analyzes it a bit differently. See, Marx is considered as economic determinist because his ideology or something, or his way of observing things is mostly concentrated in the area of economics. So whatever he observes, he typically thinks on the economics sense. So he called as economic determinist. So in this concept in the concept of historical materialism, so how society evolved, he thinks in the typical economic, he thinks like typical economic determinist. So if we observe second word, materialism, it has something related to material. Material means something related to economics, right? So in this also he trying to relate two different abstract concepts into a interlinked phenomena. See, here he is trying to link between social evolution and economic base, or something like materialism, which is related to economic sense, right? So if we got that, so he's just trying to link between social evolution and change in mode of production. Change in mode of production is nothing but a change in the way commodities produced, or changing the way material is produced, or change in social relations between the people. See how the commodity produced, how a commodity distributed, and how there is a critical gap between producer or consumer, or any two classes are emerged in the connection of that. So it's basically changing mode of productions. So just stop there. If you didn't get anything throughout the discussion of last 3 or 4 slides, don't worry, it's just a briefing down the concept. We will dive in deeper in the following slides so that you can understand even better with the coming slides. So while entering into the concept, so I just wanna trace out what are the mode of productions according to Marx has been till now. See, what are the different mode of production we are traced from the period of zero to 2020. What are the different mode of production the man has seen through his eyes, or something, or man has learned through the history. See, Marx is not someone who born at point zero. So he born in the middle of social evolution. somewhere in between feudalism or capitalism transition period, or later in capitalism period, like if I'm not wrong. So he he actually predicts. See, he learns something before. See, capitalism, feudalism, ancient mode of production, and primitive communism are something he learned through the books, or he experienced some capitalism, some of the capitalism senses when he is alive. But he predicted that in the near future we will get into the concepts like socialism and communism. So he studied the history before while predicting the future also. So at the same time he studied the patterns of mode of production that had earlier, and he predict based on that patterns and that transitions. He just predicted futures. So if you there are 5 mode of productions according to Marx that a man can stage through. First one is primitive communism. Primitive communism is nothing but mode of production at the time zero. See, at the time zero, most of the man's or most of the human beings are hunter gatherers. So there is no class, or there is no distinction between any two man if we take it. So that's classless society, primitive communism. After which we will transit into ancient mode of production. In ancient mode of production, the new concept of tool has been evolved. Who has skills in this mode of these tools has dominated the other section who doesn't have skills in tool making. So in this scenario, they form the two sections. The one is master who has skills of making tools, while other are slaves who doesn't have skills of making tools. So they are dependent on the masters, right? So after this, so slaves have overtaken. See, slaves have started revolution or something. There is a transition happened. So we entered into feudalism. In feudalism, the masters who are in ancient mode of production, we have masters. In feudalism, we have landlords. Landlords are someone who traced as masters in ancient mode of production. In the feudalism, landlords has a bit of land, and there is another section of people who has land. They are called as serfs. Serfs need to work on the lands of landlords. They will be paid with little money, and they have to work extra hours on the lands of landlords by just paying an extra amount what they eat. Sometimes they will trapped in the debts or something. See, all these mode of productions are discussed briefly in this lecture, because we will be discussing them very briefly in the coming lectures. So in that view, I am just discussing it very briefly. We will discuss everything in the coming lectures very briefly. Very clearly. So next is capitalism. After feudalism, there is a transition period. Then we enter into capitalism. Capitalism also seen as a binary of two sections, where we have capitalist on one side, then we have a working class section on the other. Here capitalist dominates the working class section because capitalists have owned some capital in their hand, and so there is always a distinction here too. So the next we will go through. So after workers will revolt against the capitalists, then we enter into socialism. Socialism is something where there is only working class, no capitalists anymore. We have only working class, and then next we will transit into communism in most beautiful mode of production as Marx praised it, where we will have no class. There is no class of working class too. So this is the end of history as according to Marx. So see, we can't say today we have primitive communism and tomorrow we have ancient mode of production, but the transition has been very long. See, if we had a primitive communism in one part of the world, then we had ancient mode of production in the other, or the transition has been taking place in the middle or somewhere in there. So there is no particular period, a particular date where we where we transited from the one mode of production to the other. In the transition, there are many small mode of productions are developed. If you consider feudalism and capitalism transition, feudalism to capitalism transition, we have concepts like mercantilism in between and petty commodity production. See, these are some basic ideologies which has transited from one ideology to other. See, if we consider feudalism to capitalism transition, there is there is a transition period. See, actually that transition period is categorized under various small ideological ideological scenarios. So that's mercantilism is one of that. So we will discuss that briefly in the next coming lectures. So in the earlier slide we discussed how a change in mode of production has see how different mode of production has evolved throughout this period as man evolved. So how this mode of production actually changes, how a mode of production of primitive communism changes to ancient mode of production, how mode of productions of ancient mode of production changes into feudalism, how feudalism mode of production changes into capitalism mode of production, and later in socialism, and later communism. How does this changes? So this leads to a concept called economic base and superstructure, which have a lot of significance in the Marx analysis of world or something. So we'll get into stories now. See, just imagine at any age, if you take any age at the age 0 or at 2000 or something, any age, there are certain productive abilities with the man. If you take ancient mode of production, the productive abilities lies in the tools. If you take feudalism, the productive abilities lies in the tilling of soil or something. If you take capitalism, the productive abilities lies in the innovating something, or any skill or a soft skill or something, any skills for that matter. And plus we have some natural abundance resources at any period. Any period we have some natural resources plus productive abilities of man has some productive abilities plus natural resources. So these two constitute what we call productive forces. Productive abilities plus natural resources constitutes a productive forces. See, these productive forces plus social relations. What is meant by social relations? Social relations are nothing but in the process of production, I produce something and then I will go and sell my product to someone. In the process of production and exchange, or production and distribution, there forms a social relations between the producer or consumer, or any intermediary for that say. So these are called social relations. So productive forces and social relations of production both forms economic base of the society. This is the economic base where the production is taking place, distribution is taking place, and there is a social relationship between producer, consumer, or any intermediary. Okay, so this is what economic base of the society is. Then next we come to the concept of superstructure. What's meant by superstructure? Superstructure is nothing but any law or any belief or any custom or anything for that matter that protects the economic base of the society, current economic base of society. See, if you consider any age or any mode of production, feudalism for that matter, capitalism for that matter, any mode of production is held tightly by superstructure. So if we take capitalism, free trade is one of the important concept of neoliberalism, neoliberalistic phase of capitalism, where the free trade is essential. So to hold that principle of free trade that belongs to economic base of the society, World Trade Organization or any international organization for that matter promotes free trade. What is this? This is the superstructure which is holding economic base of the society. Economic base is free trade, and that is being held tightly by the superstructure in international organizations established for that. So it's clear, superstructure is clear. So how society evolves? So there is a change in mode of production. For example, we said earlier, social relationship is the base, is one point of economic base, right? So in the process of social relations, we exchange some ideas, and there becomes, so exchange of ideas nothing but personal exchange, but we also exchange some ideas that we evolve. See, if we have some idea of which will promotes the increase in production, we'll share some that with some of the other producer or some of the other consumer. So that idea changes production process totally. Productive abilities will be changed there. The idea will change productive abilities, that change productive forces per se, that change the economic base of society. So if there is a change in economic base, the superstructure is now what is superstructure? Which holds the current economic base. If there is a conflict in economic base of society, then automatically superstructure will also change. See, if economic base is demanding no free trade from tomorrow, then what's mean by what's the use of international treaties or international organization that is protecting free trade? So there will be, see, change in society comes from change in productive forces, that comes from change in idea or like change in idea. See, change in idea is very basic. Change in idea is come from work. See, why we have social relations in production and distribution process, because the basic thing is work. We are working, so Marx considered the basic thing of everything is work. Basic thing is work. So we understand how history is, how a mode of production changes, that leads to change in social evolution. So this is the concept of historical materialism. How a change in mode of production per se, or how a change in materialistic concept change leading to change in history. So this is why I call the concept historical materialism. So then we next move on to one of the beautiful concept I came across, dialectical materialism. So dialectical materialism is one of the concept. Marx. See, sorry, I just didn't tell you that historical materialism has jointly given by the Marx and his friend Engels through one of the book. You can find it on Google. So that's ended. So dialectical materialism is another topic. Marx inspired this concept from Hegel. He is one of the philosophers. So what is dialectical materialism, or what all about? See, dialectical, what if we come across the word dialectical is something which is having two, right? So dialectical materialism from its basic contradicts the formal logic, which is popular in the current scenario. So what is formal logic? Formal logic is nothing but what you read and what we read in as a mainstream studies. See, formal logic states 1 is not equal to 2, thereby creating a phantom. See, we fix something, 1 is not equal to 2, 2 is not equal to 3, 3 is not equal to 4. There we fix something, there is a phantoms in formal logic. But Marx doesn't consider formal logic as a way to inquiry or way to study. But he introduced the concept called historic dialectical materialism, and he follows throughout his study. He states that if we take 1 as a antithesis, see, why is 1 is not equal to 2? Just someone said doesn't mean 1 is not equal to 2. It's not how we accept. Okay, right? So 1 can be equal to 2 according to Marx. How? See, if we consider 1 as a thesis, then it will always be contradictory to something called 2. See, if we consider thesis as 1, then there will be in the coming future, there will always be a contradictory concept evolved or contradictory phenomena developed in the future, that is 2, that is antithesis. So in the process of conflict between 1 and 2, because there are two opposites, so there will be an internal contradiction between 1 and 2. There forms a synthesis called 1 is equal to 2, where some of the good of 1 has been taken and some of the good of 2 has been taken. There we form synthesis. This concept of thesis and antithesis is applicable for any concept. See, if we take a mode of production, for instance, if we take primitive communism is a thesis because it's evolved first. Then in the coming future, we came across the concept called another mode of production called ancient mode of production. That's antithesis. The thesis of primitive communism and antithesis, that is ancient mode of production, come in conflict. And see, we can't say if there is an ancient mode of production, that doesn't mean it's totally new. No, that's not the right way to understand this concept. But rather, the good or the society which is accept the principles which is accepted by society in the primitive communism is taken. At the same time, the new concept of ancient mode of production taken together, they form synthesis of ancient mode of production. And the ancient mode of production that is become synthesis now will become thesis in the coming future, because it will come across an antithesis called feudalism in the future. So this process of thesis and antithesis is very circular and very continuous process and never ending process. So this is dialectical materialism, and we'll end this lecture now. In the coming lectures we'll start discussion from primitive communism, then we'll go to ancient mode of production, then we'll go to feudalism, then we'll go to capitalism and socialism and communism thereafter. So our chronology is defined now. So this is one of the important topics. So if you have any queries, you can mail me at mail ID or contact at WhatsApp for the phone number which will be displayed in the description of this video. Thank you.